Welcome to MACC Talk, a Middle Tennessee podcast from Monthaven Arts and Cultural Center at Hendersonville, Tennessee. I'm your announcer, Kennedy Alpin. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Noah Liff Opera Center.
Thank you, Kennedy, and welcome everyone to MACC Talk. I'm your host, John Pitcher. We like to think of the MACC as a cultural town square where we encourage everyone to be their creative best. So, Kennedy, we're here in the new year. I know one of your resolutions was you're going to be keeping up on a daily basis with your drawing in your planner, and you have a very special planner too. Tell us a little bit about it and tell us how you've been doing. We're keeping tabs on you this year.
Yeah, you should keep tabs on me. I'm 2 days behind. Which I think is a healthy amount of behind, because that means I can have, like, if I want to draw like a couple things a day, like one day, and not want to draw something.
That's right. Well, it's your day off tomorrow, right?
Exactly.
So you can take some time.
I'll probably draw a couple things tomorrow or today, kind of see how I feel about it.
All right, but tell us about your special planner.
Yeah. So it is a Hobonichi Techo. It is Japanese.
And why do you use a Japanese planner when the rest of us don't?
The paper's nice. The layout's great. It's in English.
It's a special kind of paper, though, right?
It's Tomoe river paper. So it can actually hold fountain ink a lot better, just pens in general, a lot better. You can actually look on the other side of the page if you've written in ink, and it usually won't ghost. Like, you won't see really much evidence of it bleeding through or seeing on the other side of that where the ink has been.
Okay. That's pretty fabulous. Well, I'm going to include a sample of what you've been working on lately. It is a band called Justice.
It is.
And I think it looks extraordinary. She's going to give us some other stuff too. Tell us a little bit about what you're drawing, because I think of you as drawing Marvel characters, superhero characters, or things like that, or video game characters. Now you're drawing people, real people, and they look fantastic.
One of my things I want to do this year, one of my, I guess, resolutions, but not really, just kind of something I want to do this year, is draw more realistic portraits again. I did it a lot in college, and then kind of got out of it, and I started doing it a little bit more last year, and I just need to get back to doing it. I used to be really good at it, and I kind of fell off a little bit, and I don't know. I kind of just want to get back into it. It's fun. Well, it's a good challenge.
Looking at what I'm seeing, and our people who go into our blog will see it too. It looks to me like you're still pretty good at it.
I could do better. I know I could do better.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is periodically this year we will check in with you and see what you're doing and take a look at what your progress is.
If I fall drastically behind, do not be surprised. I've done that in the past. Actually, last year I was better than the year before. I looked at it. I looked at previous years, and I got through middle of September, and the year before I got through August. So I did pretty good. Okay. I feel better about myself a little bit.
Well, this year,
I can do better, though.
This year we're going to have you publicly...
I need to be publicly shamed.
No, not shame, but we're going to publicly keep track of everything.
We can shame me about it.
But I absolutely love it. And of course, as a reminder of why you're doing this, it's because, very simply, it makes you better.
It makes you a lot better. I have noticed, looking back in previous years of doing this, because I've done this is my 6th year, I think, I have gotten significantly better. Okay. I actually really recommend people do this. Okay. As a challenge. I've gotten 3 or 4 people onto doing this.
Okay. Well, I encourage everyone who sees your art on our blog to submit their comments and let people know let's hear what people think about what Kennedy's up to.
You don't have to do the Hobonichi brand. There are other brands. I think there's Travelers makes a good one, if I remember right. Blanking on brands now that I think about it. There are other there are other similar types of planners such as this that have a big, giant blank space where you can draw on it like this. It is not just Hobonichi that makes them. This is the one that I use. This is the one that I recommend. People may feel better about other types of brands. You can probably find them on Amazon that are significantly cheaper. Okay. But yeah, I recommend it. Well, it's fun.
As it just so happens, our guest today is somebody who is very good at drawing portraits on paper and drawing all sorts of other things. Nadine Shillingford is a Nashville-based artist who creates intimate portraits using charcoal on paper. Her art captures people in everyday situations and evokes their spirit by highlighting their facial expressions. It's a whimsical approach that gives vitality to her work. 20 of Nadine's fabulous works are on display at Monthaven as part of an exhibition titled La Femme Fatale. The exhibit runs January 14 to February 15, 2026, and is part of the MACC's Black History Celebration. We're thrilled to have Nadine with us today. Nadine, welcome to MACC Talk.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a real honor to have you here. You've got a wonderful exhibit coming up at Monthaven. And I was just wondering, I think it's fair to say that you don't have a conventional art background.
No, I don't.
From what I'm seeing, you in fact have a PhD in computer science from Notre Dame. And I'm just wondering, how did a mathematician and scientist like you find your way into the arts?
So I started out as an academic. I'm from a family of academics. My brother is a medical doctor. My older sister is a professor of school counseling. My younger sister is a nurse. So I'm from a family that was focused a lot on education. Mm-hmm. And the art part of me started out just in recent years. I'd always loved art, but because I was such an academic, from an academic family, I think I focused a lot on education in my earlier years. Mm-hmm. So art kind of came recently. But yes, I do have a degree in computer science, and I do work still full-time as a cybersecurity consultant.
Oh my gosh. Well, I probably should follow up with you a little bit. Did you do any kind of drawing or sketching or art or anything when you were a young person, a kid, or did it all start as an adult?
Yes, I played around with crayons and even a little bit of paint back in the Caribbean, but nothing that was nothing that you would put in an exhibition, for example.
Okay, because people are going to be looking at your art and they're going to be amazed that this is something that you started so late, and maybe it'll inspire them.
Yeah,
to start.
I hope so.
Wouldn't that be cool?
I hope so. Yeah.
Well, you the fun fact, you said that you mentioned you're from the Caribbean and from the island of Dominica. Did I said that right?
Dominica.
Yes. Tell me, what was it like growing up there? What was it like being from that part of the hemisphere?
It was a pretty normal life. I grew up there. Our house is on a hill, facing the ocean. I grew up, went to elementary school, the usual system. We have the British system. So I went to elementary school. I skipped a few classes. So by the time I started high school, I had just turned 15 or 14. Mm-hmm. Scratch that. I had just turned 10.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I graduated.
Well, that would be considered prodigious.
Yeah. Yes, I had just turned 10. I was thinking that number sounds kind of small. Uh-huh. So went to elementary school. We had the usual, just like you have here. And then went to high school in the Caribbean. Also went to A-levels. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that was, and as I said, I'm from an academic family. So, education was most of what I did. I don't play any instruments. I can't play any sports. Never learned how to swim, even if my house faced the ocean the entire time. But I loved studying, mm-hmm. And I loved my family. We were a very religious family as well growing up. So life was mainly church, school, and family. For the most part. The island, Dominica, is a small island in the Caribbean. We have about 70,000 people, 70,000 mm-hmm. people. And it's very rugged. It's a lot of nature and everything. So, there's lots of colors, there's lots of flowers. And I think that influenced my art a lot. The fact that I grew up surrounded by nature, it really did. So my life was basically, it's not exactly like an island with coconut tree and it was a normal life. We went to school, we went to work, and Yeah.
Well, I have to ask you, growing up there, how does it feel now being in a place that's so landlocked like Nashville? Do you like it here, or do you feel like there's something missing, at least in that one respect?
I like it. And the reason, one thing I should tell you, I got a house like 2 years ago, and it's up on a hill in Bellevue, and it's surrounded by trees. And at night, you can see the lights through the trees, and it reminds me of home. I am very high up over the Harpeth River. If it gets really strong, you could hear it from the deck. But that's the closest I've got to being in the Caribbean in terms of environment. So yes, I do miss it. I miss the there's a different atmosphere in the Caribbean on the island than you get here. And I do miss it sometimes, but I've kind of found home in Bellevue. I've been there for a while now, and yeah.
And thank you for driving, all the way to Hendersonville when you got to go back to Bellevue, which is the other side of Nashville, which people who don't live here don't realize that that's actually quite a drive. Now, I understood you mentioned your brother that you were thinking of being a doctor at one time.
Yes.
Yes. But you decided to do computers instead. Why is that?
So when I was younger, my brother is 5 years older than I am, and he was kind of my hero for most of my childhood. So when he went off to medical school, I also wanted to go to medical school. But the main thing was I hated hospitals and I'm scared of blood. So, so that was not a good career choice. By the time I finished A-levels and it was time to go off to college, there's no college on the island, or at least then there was no college on the island. So in order to get educated beyond high school or beyond A-levels, you had to actually leave the island. So he actually left and went to Jamaica. And about that time, my dad got really sick at the hospital. It was his appendix or something. And I realized I do not like being in a hospital. So I had the grades for it, but I just couldn't do it. So I actually initially went to college to do behavioral science. And I got there and I loved the computer science. I was fascinated with technology at the time. And I changed my major. And I've been in computer science ever
That has
since.
to be one of the hardest majors, though. I know,
It
because
is very hard.
our producer Jonah is a computer science major, and he definitely, I think everyone I know attests that that's not an easy road.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's something that I enjoy. Some people like it and some people love it, and some people just can't get into it. I think I'm one of those people who love it. I like programming. I like technology. I like learning new things.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I just found it fascinating that you have that background because I first was introduced to your art in person last year when our wonderful Donna Woodley curated an exhibit called Black Vibrations, and she had some of your art there. And I was completely blown away by some of this art. I believe there was a woman in the exhibit. Was her name Vera?
Vera, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just really taken with her. You have another exhibit which features portraits of women coming up here at Monthaven. It's going to be January 14th through February 15th, 2026. It's called Femme Fatale. And I'm wondering, what does that title refer to in relation to these portraits? Because I think of the Femme Fatale as being a stock character in fiction. How does that relate to your art?
It's kind of interesting that most of my artwork has been focused on the female form. It's not intentional. It just happens to be that's what kind of catches my eye. And the title for the show, La Femme Fatale, is supposed to represent all the women out there in different forms, in different areas of life, but we're all beautiful. So it's kind of a way of representing women in different types of women, but we all have that strength that are
you all dangerous as well? Because that seems to be suggested. by
that too.
title,
When you look
the men
at it,
better look out, right?
yeah. I mean, with me, because I work, especially with me, I work in a male-dominated industry. And any given point, I am the only woman on my team. It's a constant challenge to show people that I know what I'm talking about.
So do you feel like you have to be better?
Yeah, definitely.
Just
I have to be
you
better.
have to prove yourself every time. So that's got to be stressful.
Yeah. So it's kind of, with me, and I'm glad my art is getting out there to people, because I can show people that
it is really getting out
women,
there. I saw it on Tennessee Crossroads.
Yes.
Wow, we have you here. That's incredible.
Yes. I just want to show, I like representing women, and if my art is doing that, that's even better. Yes.
Does it relate in any way? Because I know your show is part of our Black History celebration. Does it relate to that in any way?
It does, because whether intentional or not, most of my figures are representation of what I look like, right? I am Black. I'm from the Caribbean, and if you look at my drawings, you'll see that a lot of my drawings are representative of Black women. And there's something special about the different tones, the different features of a Black woman. So I don't intentionally draw Black women, but that's just my main figure that I do.
Okay. Well, I got a quote, because I was asking our regional arts director a little bit about that title, if she could help me interpret it, as well as Ruth Chase, and she's really quite amazing. And she brought out a quote for me that your art also sort of highlights, powerful, independent, and sometimes mysterious female characters, while also addressing unique cultural perspectives and historical anxieties surrounding Black female agency and sexuality. I thought that was intriguing.
That sounds that sounds like my work and my general direction in life. I like the idea that when I step into a room with my art, most times people don't know I'm the artist. I usually get that question, is this your art? Because it's a general mystery, and I kind of like it that, people tend to walk past me when they step into a room full of my art. So I like to think that I'm a little bit mysterious. Most people don't know what I do for a living. Mostly they don't know, that I have the ability to draw. And it's becoming a little bit more apparent because, my art is a little bit more out there now. And
it is very much
with my bio.
We're speaking with artist Nadine Shillingford about her exhibit, La Femme Fatale. We'll be back after this important message.
The Noah Liff Opera Center is a strong supporter of arts education. The arts foster creativity, critical thinking, and emotional expression. Students engaged in the arts often perform better academically and develop lifelong appreciation for diverse perspectives. This message was brought to you by the Noah Liff Opera Center. For more information, visit their website at noahliffoperacenter.org.
We're back with artist Nadine Shillingford, who's here to talk with us today about her new exhibit, La Femme Fatale. Her show runs January 14th to February 15th, 2026. She has a reception and artist talk at the MACC on Sunday, February 1st, 2026, from 2 to 5 p.m. You have all sorts of amazing kung fu. You have it in the computers and you have it in, your art.
Yeah.
So both hemispheres of your brain are completely attached or something and working, which I think in and of itself is pretty amazing. Well, another person who's like that was the curator of Black Vibrations, Donna Woodley.
Yes.
Who's an amazing, accountant and business person and mathematics person, who's also an incredibly wonderful visual artist. And I think it was always a little bit of a struggle for her. What do I do? And I think from where she came from, she became an accountant because it was just practical. It's like, do what's practical and don't necessarily do what maybe everyone seems to think is just a pipe dream or impractical.
Yeah.
Do you ever see a time in your life when you might be like her? She's now an art professor. Do you see a time in your life when you might just be an artist and not a computer person? Because
I would love
your
that.
Your stuff is good enough for you to be an artist.
I would love that. I think at some point I would like to have my own studio. I would like to have, I think of it as a gallery, studio, coffee shop type situation where I can help out, artists who are just starting out, have studio space and all of that available for artists. And yes, I will miss not working in the computer field, but I don't see myself doing it beyond, probably the next 10 years.
Well, I mean, there are just not that many people who can do what you do as an artist. So I'm just wondering if that might be an avenue that's occurred to you. And, Nashville has such a DIY, do-it-yourself gallery culture that there must be any number of ways that, an artist can find to showcase their work and really make a career out of it.
Yeah. I think, as I said, I like the idea of this whole idea of art started out as just a hobby that I did at night. It's still pretty much something that I do at night because I work during the day. However, I do have responsibilities. My daughter is a sophomore at Yale University, so I do have that responsibility.
So she's a ship off the old block then, though. She's an academic, because that's pretty impressive. And I heard she's also a piano player.
She is.
Wow.
She's played classical piano since she was 4 years old.
Oh, so she's good.
Her dad is also a classical pianist, so he had her playing classical piano since she was 4.
Is she a music major, or is she
she's a
pre-med, or
she's
what?
a pre-law major. Okay. So she loves the idea of doing law. I'm not sure. I think she's playing around with the idea of politics.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes. But she's a philosophy major right now. So at Yale, most of the pre-law students tend to take philosophy.
Well, there's all that logic,
as
right?
their undergrad. Yeah.
Helps them when they take the LSAT.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, tell me a little bit, because your art is so amazing. Tell me a little bit about your process. How do you create these portraits, which to me are defined not so much by their photorealistic accuracy, they're really defined by their expressiveness and their personality. Yes. Tell me, what is your process?
So most times when I start a piece, I'm sitting on my couch. When I started doing these type of drawings it was March 7th of 2019. So it's a little over 6 years now. I basically sat on my couch, found just the right combination of charcoal pencils.
What inspired you, not to interrupt, but what inspired you all of a sudden in 2019 to start doing that?
So I had been taking...
Because you've been doing all this other stuff for your whole life.
Yes. So I think it's a combination of multiple things. I wanted to find some purpose, something to do, and I knew I loved art. So I started doing community classes over at Centennial, and it was mostly acrylic paint. And if you know the difference between charcoal and acrylic, it's a different setup, right? Usually with acrylic, you have to go sit in a room, set up a canvas, and start painting. Then you've got to tear down and wash and clean up. So somehow the idea of doing charcoal came across. I still don't know what it is about charcoal that attracted me, but I was at Michael's and I found this Strathmore toned gray paper. I found the General's pencils, the orange pencils, and the white charcoal pencils. And I sat down one day in March of 2019 and I drew this picture of my niece. She was sitting in front of a mirror, and I wish I had the picture in the collection, but she's sitting in front of a mirror and it's just her reflection. And I drew it and I posted it online, and I got a really good response. It was kind of like, oh, I didn't know you could draw. And I had been doing a little bit of acrylic for a while then, but somehow the response there and the feeling I got when that white charcoal hit the toned gray paper did something to me. So the next night I did the same thing. I drew something else. And most of it was just things in my environment. So my niece, my daughter, old pictures of my daughter as a little girl, standing with her foot on a football, that kind of thing. And I just basically kept doing that every night. And it's been my practice for the last almost 7 years now to draw something every night. So each of these pieces have been done in one sitting at night while I watch TV or while I, listen to an audiobook.
How long does it take to get
It
one
takes
of these
between
done?
2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
do you sometimes work from photographs, or do you try to work, or do you work from memory?
I mostly work from photographs.
Okay.
Sometimes I will start out so for example, this piece, you can't see it from the podcast, but this piece right here on the side, that's a picture of my daughter. On the left, that's a picture of my daughter, and obviously she's not standing in front of a tree, but I will take the main form, draw the figure, and then make it into my own thing. So most times I start with the eye, the right eye. I almost always start with the right eye of the figure. So because I wasn't trained to draw in a certain way, it's kind of, I made up my own way of doing it. And I will start out of the right eye. If the right eye it works well, it looks properly, then that means I will be happy with the piece. So I'll start with the right eye, move on. So I kind of start with one area and I move across as I get the picture as I'm going. So that's usually my style, and it's usually me sitting on my couch with the book. My supplies are around me, and I draw as I go. Most people think charcoal is a very messy, medium. Most times, the most I get is a little spot of charcoal on my shirt, whatever I'm wearing.
Okay.
Because I use charcoal pencils, and I use smoothers. They're basically makeup removers or makeup applicators that I use to get that fine texture of the skin. So I will apply darks and then use the residue of the dark using a makeup applicator and get that fine, the features that give you that 3D, almost realistic look.
Okay. Well, I think it's fascinating to hear how you describe that, because as I alluded to a few minutes ago, I first saw your stuff up close and personal last year in an exhibit here. And the thing that always strikes me is just the personality that just seems to ooze out of your portraits. And I'm wondering, what is the secrets there, your secret sauce that allows you to do that? Is it your focus on the eyes first?
Yes.
I'm just wondering.
I think it's the eyes. I try to get as much personality in the person's eyes.
Okay.
And even when they're wearing glasses or sunglasses, I try to get the shades of black and white that bring out the eye.
There's something about how your portraits look back at you that seems to say, to me anyway, a lot of what this person's character and personality is, which is not something I would have necessarily thought of immediately. When I think of just my own personal interactions with people, I might think about their smile, or I might think about some other expression on their face, but it's really the eyes, isn't it?
It's the eyes.
That's
It's
really
the eyes.
what reveals the soul.
Yes, it's definitely. I usually
and you have that as an intuition, and I think that's so brilliant.
When I speak to people, I look at them in their eyes. I don't know if you can sense I'm doing it to you right now, because
I'm hypnotized now.
I tend to
You've
focus.
mesmerized me.
I focus on people's eyes.
Okay.
And sometimes I will do that, like if I go to a supermarket or something and I'm working with a cashier, the person has really nice eyes, I will tell them, I really like your eyes, because that's what I'm looking at the person.
Okay.
The second thing would be the mouth. Noses are kind of hard for me. I get the noses, I can get them to work, but they're not my favorite part of the face.
In terms of drawing them.
In terms of drawing them. But I look at people's eyes all the time, and I always look at people's mouths. Because, mouths are interesting too. Some people have, I look at the presence or absence of lips, the reflection of the light on the body. So I don't know at which point I started doing that. If it's something that I always did, but when I look at you right now, I can see that the light is reflecting on the tip of your nose.
Okay.
I can see where it's
I'm
reflecting.
all shiny and everything.
With me, my forehead is where I see the light most of the time, right? Because I have a reflective forehead, all right here on my cheeks. So that's something that I look at just on a regular basis. You know, when I'm looking at somebody or when I'm looking at an object, I look for where the light is hitting.
Okay.
And to me, that's what makes the portrait so realistic. It's just knowing where exactly to put that bit of white. So the charcoal is there, but there's a little bit of white. So if you look at my Nina Simone portrait.
So we're going to have to all study that when we come to see your portraits.
Figure out where I put the white. Yes. So if you look at my Nina Simone portrait, for example, Nina had a very wide face. Her cheeks were very prominent, and so applying white in just the right space gets that effect.
And that's Nina Simone, the musician.
Yes, Nina Simone.
Are you a fan of Nina Simone?
I am such a fan of Nina.
Monster fan of Nina Simone.
I am a fan of Nina Simone.
And her piano playing is just extraordinary.
Superb.
I mean, she can turn any simple melody into a Bach fugue.
Yes.
And just the most incredible thing. I mean, she is one of the most talented musicians of the last 100 years, I think.
And she's probably one of the most, besides my immediate family, she's one of the persons I've drawn the most of.
Really? Okay.
This piece.
Well, I share your enthusiam there.
This piece in the exhibit is probably my favorite. So I still have it. You know, it's been hanging in my house. Wow. But Nina Simone, I heard her sing Cinnamon on YouTube one day, and that was it.
Okay.
If I turn on the Pandora on my phone right now, it's going to be Nina Simone.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, you do a lot of faces. Do you just really narrowly focus more on portraits like that, or do you do other, parts of the body, more full body composition? Because I've heard, one of the things I've heard from a lot of artists who draw the human figure, and a lot of people say with the human figure, that's one of the hardest things to draw, is they have a lot of trouble with the hands.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, is there a part of the anatomy that's especially challenging?
The hands.
The hands.
The hands. And drawing hands, there's so many different joints in hands.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why even with AI, I'm going to my tech side now, even with AI, one of the things that you look for to see whether a picture is AI or not is the hands, right? Because hands are so difficult to draw. Even for the computer, it's hard to draw hands. And sometimes you'll see them with, multiple fingers or, more than 5 fingers, or you'll see the hands look misshapen. So hands are always my challenge. It's I will sometimes draw the person and stop. You'll see in my work, sometimes I will draw and the piece it's not complete. It just kind of fades. The hands are my favorite thing, just let fade, because I just don't like drawing them. When I do them, I can do them really well, but it's just not my favorite thing.
Okay. We have to do Nina Simone's hands. I mean, it's like, she, next to Rachmaninoff, she has the best hands, right?
That is true. I have never drawn Nina Simone's hands. I don't think I've ever drawn hands on a piano before.
Yeah.
Challenge, I guess.
Okay, there's your challenge for today. You do a lot of, as you've noted, a lot of amazing charcoal drawings, but you also work with pastels and acrylics and what do you get from the other media that you maybe don't get from charcoal?
Mostly size. When it comes to me wanting to relax and do a piece, I will focus on charcoal. When I'm working on larger pieces, I've never liked drawing on canvas, on stretched canvas. So if I'm doing a larger piece, what I do most of the time is I will use, the figure will be a charcoal figure. The face will be a charcoal face. And then I will use other mediums to supplement on the larger canvas. So I have a few pieces that are going up to Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, which is it's a engineering school in Indiana. I taught there for a few years, and I have a few pieces going up there this weekend actually, and they're all charcoal portraits, but the rest of the body is made out of cloth and paper, and hopefully I can show that at Monthaven sometime. But for now, they're not going to be in this particular exhibit, but they're larger than my usual 11 by 14, which is my typical size of my drawings. And the background and the rest of the figure is, I use cloth, just a collage of cloth and paper to get that feel.
Okay. We're speaking with artist Nadine Shillingford about her exhibit, La Femme Fatale. We'll be back after this important message.
The Noah Leff Opera Center reminds us that the arts help build well-rounded communities. They foster creativity, inclusivity, and cultural understanding. They bring people together through the shared experiences and support for local identity. Art programs promote education, economic growth, and emotional well-being. Interested in expanding your own creative horizons? Registration for the MACC Spring Art Classes is now open. Go to monthavenarts.org/classes for more information.
We're back with artist Nadine Shillingford, who's here to talk with us today about her new exhibit, La Femme Fatale. Her show runs January 14th to February 15th, 2026. She has a reception and artist talk at the MACC on Sunday, February 1st, 2026, from 2 to 5 p.m. Well, you are increasingly well known for lots of different kinds of art, but you've done a series of women who've had breast cancer, and I'm wondering what inspired you to tackle that subject?
My life. So in 2015, I was diagnosed with ductal carcinoma in situ, which is a very early stage of breast cancer. Since my dad was going through prostate cancer at the time, my doctor recommended, the bilateral mastectomy. So I went through that in 2015. And it was a challenging time because my dad, as I said, my dad was in terminal stage of prostate cancer. He passed away since then. And to me, it's something that I did not have a problem telling people about it, but the reaction people gave sometimes, they either felt really sorry for you or just shut down the conversation. And breasts are a female thing, right? So it's not something you usually talk about in public. And 2020, I believe, I decided I was going to start drawing women who've had breast cancer. And I put it out there on my Facebook, on my social media, and just said, if you've had this experience with breast cancer, whether it's, you or a family member, or, send me a picture and a short story description of that person, and I will draw you for free. And I ended up with about 60 women.
So there was a lot of feedback then.
There was a lot of feedback. There was a lot of feedback. 2020 was a little slow. By 2021, I was getting so many that I almost had one drawing every day in October. One story that touched me the most from that series was I had just posted like the night before, because I'll draw and I'll post right after I'm finished drawing. And in the morning I woke up, and I wish I had saved that message, but I got a message from Messenger of a woman who said, I just saw your post about the breast cancer. I'm sitting on the chemo chair right now, and I just want you to know how much that meant to me, the story of the person who was saying that they had survived and they were doing well. So to me, it wasn't just about me, because my cancer was very early. It was stage 0. That's how they refer to it. But it did affect me. So, sometimes you get the answer, well, you didn't really have cancer. But it did affect me because I had to do a really serious surgery, to ensure that I don't get beyond where I was. And it's affected me for the last 10 years, right? So I feel like, yes, the whole process of drawing these women and sharing their stories helped me get through the what I had to deal with, because it was an easy way to tell my story, to not feel like I had to hide what I was going through. But it also helped the other women, because it was easier for somebody to reach out to me and say, I'm going through this. And as a woman, it's not always easy.
Is there anything in the gaze that you saw from these women that might have been different?
Some were.
Because I see a strength, and maybe
Yes.
I'm reading that into the portrait, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah, so the different so they sent me their favorite pictures.
Okay.
And what I liked about it was there's some of them where you could see in their faces, you could see the strength, but also some of them sent me pictures with no clothes on. So, that is one of the strongest things for a woman to do who has had a bilateral mastectomy, right? Last year I went ahead and I got a tattoo just to come, celebrate the fact that I was 10 years past this.
Oh, wow.
But for some women, they will never tell anybody and they will never show it. So the drawings that I did for that breast cancer series included not only women's faces, but even their scars. And to me, that's really powerful. I had a few women I had one woman who had her hands, held up like she was showing her muscles. And I drew that. There was one woman who was, one of the problems that you have with breast cancer is the Buddha belly, because when they do a bilateral mastectomy without reconstruction, you're kind of concave. And if you already have a little belly, you kind of like that, like, you look like Buddha. And some women took the pictures that they sent me at an angle where you could see the Buddha belly. They were embracing it and saying, I know this is my situation, but it's okay. And I think by looking at that series of drawings, which I still have, I had about 60 of them. Hopefully I can show them again sometime. By looking at that, I know that it touched a lot of people because you saw the strength in those women. And, again, there were some women in there who the images were supplied by their relatives because they passed on, right? But it's still a way of commemorating those people and basically saying, this is my family. They struggled, they didn't survive, but their story lives on to tell others about breast cancer.
Okay. Well, I wanted to take just a moment because we have such a great exhibit coming to maybe just highlight a few individual portraits. We've already talked about Nina Simone. I think your challenge should be maybe to do your daughter playing the piano.
I should.
I think there's your subject right there. I'd like to meet her someday. Who is her favorite composer?
Rachmaninoff.
Rachmaninoff.
Yes.
Okay. And since she started at 4, she's actually probably good enough to play Rachmaninoff.
Yes, she played classical competition piano. Her instructor was a professor at Lipscomb University until she went off to college.
Was it Jerry Reed?
It is Jerry Reed.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. My youngest son is a pianist, and he went to the governor's school. And
yes, she did governor's school too.
Jerry Reed was the professor there, and he did the pre-college program at Vanderbilt.
Yes.
And his professor was one of Dr. Reed's students.
Wow, small world.
It's a small world, but she's obviously good because she's an incredible.
She started with Dr. Reed when she was 7 or 8.
He's an incredible pianist.
Yeah, he is.
Well, I wanted to talk about a few of these, and I'm assuming that the ones that I have are going to be in the show, but Amy really had an impact on me because it's the eyes that tell me everything about it. Tell me a little bit about Amy.
So Amy is another of my favorite singers or performers.
Okay.
She had an interesting story too. The other thing about Nina that caught me was that
she looks like a singer. So
yes. Nina was bipolar. She also had breast cancer. So I'm drawn to those kind of characters. With Amy, her story is so sad, and I think I've drawn a few pieces of Amy because in her eyes you can see that she had so much promise, and yet she died so young. So I think she was beautiful. I think she was a very talented person, and I enjoy her music. So sometimes I'm drawn to, I draw people who I listen to during the day. So Amy being one of my favorite singers is a very common person that I draw. Her look is also very interesting. She had that cat eye thing going on.
Oh, yeah.
And the big beehive on her head. So yeah, drawing her is fun.
She was incredible. And we have another one, this woman here. Who is this woman? She's a woman with a wonderful hat and seems to be smoking a cigar, and just all personality.
That one is called 420. I drew it on 420.
Okay.
So that is not a cigar in her hand.
What is that?
It's marijuana.
Okay. Well, very good. So she's a little. Well, that's even more interesting.
That's where the 420 comes. I drew it on 420.
Okay.
So there's a story with that, and it's actually on my Instagram. If you go to 420 of 2025, you'll see the story. I wanted to draw kind of. It's kind of an interesting idea of an older woman who's getting ready for church. So she's going to church 420, and she gets to church and she is annoyed because there are young people in the church who's disrespecting her. That's the story I came up with. Disrespecting her, and she is just thinking, when I go home, I'm going to relax with my nephews. 420 surprise. So that's what that is.
That is a great story. We're speaking with artist Nadine Shillingford about her exhibit, La Femme Fatale. We'll be back after this important message.
The Noah Liff Opera Center is a strong supporter of arts education. The arts foster creativity, critical thinking, and emotional expression. Students engaged in the arts often perform better academically and develop lifelong appreciation for diverse perspectives. This message was brought to you by the Noah Liff Opera Center. For more information, visit their website at noahliffoperacenter.org.
We're back with artist Nadine Shillingford, who's here to talk with us today about her new exhibit, La Femme Fatale. Her show runs January 14th to February 15th, 2026. She has a reception and artist talk at the MACC on Sunday, February 1st, 2026, from 2 to 5 p.m. Well, you draw these wonderful portraits of people, but I've noticed in researching you draw lots of different subjects. You're great with drawing pets.
Yes.
You have devoted some time to issues like Black Lives Matter. What is your favorite thing to draw?
I think, the female portrait is my favorite thing to draw. I also enjoy drawing dogs. I have a dog. Her name's Lola. And she's also, probably my favorite subject because her face is so expressive.
Well, I've noticed that's the one thing about your dogs, and maybe it's just dogs, but your dogs are as expressive as your people.
Yes. I don't know if you've really sat down and looked at a dog. My dog Lola will walk around and you can tell she's sad or she's happy. And to me, I love capturing that. And if I see somebody who has a pet who is also expressive, I will ask, can I draw your pet, please? Because their eyes, again, it comes down to the eyes, right? Mm-hmm. The eyes tell you the position of their head. Dogs have this way of positioning their head sideways if they're asking a question. So all those little things, and probably, again, it's just me studying the image too much, but it's all those little things that just make you go like, I like that. I want to capture that.
I told my wife I want to commission you to do our dog. We have a hound dog named Porthos.
Oh.
And he's got a big personality. He gets very excited, likes to stand on his head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Just when he just gets so excited he can't stand it. So he just goes onto his head. Well, I appreciate your taking so much time to come and talk to us today. Just maybe one more question. What do you hope people take away from your show when they come to see it?
I hope they can see that, there's beauty out there in the world. Right now we're going through a whole lot of different things, but there's beauty, and art can be used to raise somebody's spirits. And I hope when people look at all of my artwork, all of the women pictured in there, that they see something that makes them appreciate art even more, that they get to love somebody like Nina Simone, that it introduces them to something that they didn't know about before. And just generally love art. Enjoy I hope the colors that I use make somebody's day. That they come back and see more of the art here at Monthaven.
Okay, well, your exhibit, La Femme Fatale, is on display from January 14th to February 15th, 2026. I am so excited about it. Nadine Shillingford, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to MACC Talk from Monthaven Arts and Cultural Center. Our mission is to educate, elevate, and encourage our community through the transformative power of the arts. If you're interested in transforming your creative life, check out our website at monthavenarts.org. Our guest today was artist Nadine Shillingford, whose exhibit La Femme Fatale is on display at the MACC from January 14th to February 15th, 2026. Our podcast music was written by Nashville composer Christina Spinay. I'm Kennedy Galpin. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.